You're listening to Mr. Save a Home, Becoming an Agenteur.
Hey, what's good, Agenteurs? Hope you guys are having a fabulous week, and I'm hoping you're going to finish up strong. So I'm sitting here talking to actually my podcast producer. We're just here brainstorming some ideas, and this topic came up, and I said, you know what? Let's record it right now. Let's just go ahead and get into it. And I want to talk about, I want to talk about renters who want to become home buyers. All right, so, and I also want to talk about non-investors who want to become investors. Just because the opportunity is there to become the other thing doesn't mean you should do it. I've always talked about how I don't trace my stats, or I don't track my stats about, what I sell, blah, blah. So, but I can tell you, I've turned away more people who want to be home buyers than I've actually taken on. I've also turned away more wannabe investors than I've taken on. And it doesn't mean that they didn't have what it takes. It's just that certain people are not ready. As an agent, as someone who's just a good human being in general, I always think it's a good thing to do is hone your craft, whatever that may be. And although in our world of being an agent, people come to us, they have a pre-approval letter, and they've approved X amount of dollars for a mortgage, doesn't mean they can afford that. Now, I know the lender said, hey, you can afford it, but can they really? So something I would encourage agents to do out there is that when a client comes to you and they're getting pre-approved, or they've already been pre-approved, and they give you a dollar figure, interview them yourself. Do you have to? No, I think you should. It'll benefit you and it'll benefit them. And here's why. Client comes to you and they're pre-approved for a home, or for a mortgage amount rather. Now, you have a rough idea, but you don't really know what they can afford, what they can afford. So I always like to ask them, hey, I know they pre-approved you for X amount of dollars, but have you guys taken into the fact that you're gonna want new furniture, you want new drapes, a TV, some appliances, and do some odds and ends around the house? And have you guys really looked at what that's gonna cost? And I also know with my clients that some of their lifestyles, where they go eat at, the kind of clothes they like to wear, things like that, that when you get into this new mortgage amount, this new monthly commitment for the next 30 years, that you may have to adjust your lifestyle. Are you ready for that? And the biggest shocker, I think, is the utilities. Most renters don't pay the water, trash, and sewage bill, and they don't have property taxes to pay. And yes, I understand that property taxes for the most part are rolled in to your mortgage payment. So that could be a moot point depending on the mortgage type. But I'm starting to see in today's market where some lenders out there, even some people, are taking advantage of, oh, you know what, we'll pay the taxes separately. It's not really recommended. So sometimes when people are going into buying these homes, I think it's always a good practice to try to qualify them yourself and bring just certain reality. You're not telling them what to do. You're not saying that they're cut out, they're not cut out. But what you are doing is putting them kind of on notice that, hey, listen, are you sure you're ready for this? Yeah, you may scare them a little bit, but at least you're being truthful and honest with them. And I know I led this podcast off by saying how this is also going to benefit you as an agent. If you put them through these questions or this questionnaire now, then you know you have a true buyer or not. Because they have this pre-qual letter, you put them in your car and you take them to certain homes and they see it and it's fine. Now the pre-qualification letter gives them a certain dollar figure. The home they love, like it's their dream home, is the exact same dollar figure. So they thinking, oh, that's it. But now they've maxed themselves out. You have no clue. They could get cold feet. Right? They could end up like, oh, yeah, the house is this much, you want to pay this much, but we still want to do this to it, that to it. And that's, they got cold feet now themselves and they changed their mind. You just wasted your time too. So if you take a step back and just think about, hey, here's what we should really think about before we take you out looking at homes, I think you benefit everybody. You benefit yourself because your time is saved, and you help them out because they could have, you're eventually helping them avoid one of the biggest mistakes of their lives. Again, I know it's weird to hear someone who's a licensed agent to try to talk people out of getting a mortgage or to buying a home, But that's what I'm not trying to do, nor am I recommending you talk people out of it. What I am recommending is that you try to talk to your client into the realization of what it is to be a homeowner. There's property insurance and potential flood insurance. And you have natural disasters and stuff like that. So depending what part of the country you live in, you got to make sure you got right insurances, right coverages for the home. Do they have kids? What's the school district? There's so many different things you have to look into before you just pop them in your car and put them into a home and say, all right, bye. And you're off to the next transaction. To my want-to-be investors out there, no, I'm not calling you wannabes by any stretch of the imagination. That's what I'm saying, who want to be investors. Think about the risks involved. I don't care what you have on paper. Every investment you make, there's an inherited risk. You can calculate them the best you can, but there's just things you can't see behind certain walls. Literally, when it comes to home, there's things you can't see behind certain walls until you make the commitment, and then you start going into that renovation project, whether it's a flip or a rental. You need to make sure you do due diligence. There's tons of formulas out on the internet that people say, they use this occupancy rate or this vacancy rate, so on and so forth. But you can't just turn around and if you are not a one-size-fits-all person, why are you making your investment chance a one-size-fits-all investment? You have to really do your due diligence and dig in. And I think something we pride ourselves in here at the Mr. Save a Home team is that the agents we have here, we train them to really deal with the investments. We look not just at cap rates and cash on cash, we look at everything. Our IRRs, we look at the areas, at a class, what class is the property, A, B, C, or D, commercial, residential, multi-single. We do our best to look at everything and not just cookie cutter everything into what's one size fits all for you guys. So if you're going to get into that investment world, make sure that you know your market that you're going to get into, and don't be sitting in Western U.S. and looking at people in Eastern U.S. and compare them. It doesn't work that way. So you really have to understand that although it's nice, you're looking on HGTV and you're seeing this guy make $100,000 profit off this flip, I'm willing to bet there's a lot of other numbers that they didn't take into consideration. So that number isn't the true number. So listen, all I can tell you is be the best version you can and just make sure you're servicing your client correctly. And if you're an investor or want to be an investor, make sure you know your market, do your due diligence. Don't think if you ask a lot of questions that you're ignorant. You're only ignorant if you don't ask a lot of questions. At least that's my opinion of it. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully it's something that you can take away from and learn from. If you have any stories for me to share on this, I'd be happy to hear from you. Again, it's Navid at MrSaveAHome.com, Navid at MRSaveAHome.com. And remember, never chase money, chase the deal. Do right by your investors. Everything else will fall in place.